Hello all, welcome to this channel. Today I'm gonna show you a simulation in Star CCM Plus regarding the laminar flow over a flat rectangular plate. We are gonna do a 2D simulation over here, and I'm not a trained professional or any trained CFD software engineer. I'm just a student who is working on simulations with my own interest. And if there are any mistakes which are rolled out, feel free to post them in the comments and please do correct me because I want to learn from my mistakes. Thank you. Have a nice day. Please enjoy the video and suggest me for like making the simulation or making the physics more efficient. There you go. So the first, I go with the new in the serial. If you have a multiple processor, you can go with parallel, but I'm going with the serial. Okay. So yeah, uh, if you look at the domain, we have something called as the simulation tree over here, where you can monitor your simulations. I mean to say about the geometry, the meshing, the physics, and whatever your post-processing results. And the gray window over here, which the cursor is moving, is called as the graphics window, where you can see the geometry, the meshing, and also the results and the residuals and a lot more. This over here, which is written with multiple lines are written over here, it is called as the output window. Here you can monitor whether you've done a modification or whether you've done a meshing, or like if you want to compute some parameters like force, lift, drag, pressure coefficient, and whatever, you can get it over here. And when you're trying to give some parameters just like viscosity, density, or some other parameters, there appears another window which is called as the property window, which will be seeing it further. So yeah, let's start. First I go to my geometry. I create a new 3D CAD model considering the XY plane. I sketch in my XY plane. I'm just going with a rectangle. So yeah, I give my breadth as say 0.5 mm. It is very small. Okay, so let's increase this to 5 mm. Okay, and if I want my length or any other dimension to be function of this dimension which I given just now, I go to expose parameter. Say I keep it as b for now, breadth. And if I want my length to be in the function of the breadth, say my 10 times breadth is my length, 10 into $b, which is a syntax convention in the Star CCM. I give it OK. Sorry. So 10 times $b, you can see like 0.05 meter or 50 millimeter. So yeah, today we're gonna do a simulation on 2D model of the rectangle. StarCCM doesn't hold the simulations for 2D, but what we're gonna do is that we're gonna extract this very small, or the Z component is in the order of like 10 power minus 2 or 10 power minus 3 millimeter, and then we're gonna mesh it based on the 2D. There is a separate module or the separate section for 2D meshing in StarCCM. You can follow it in the Siemens guide. So yeah, let's do it. So here's the 2D geometry. Now I just wanna extrude. In extrusion you can see like the normal or the reverse, or you can even specify an axis and you can give based on that. Since it's 2D simulation which we're gonna perform, I give it as like 0.01 mm. So it is something as that of a flat plate which you can consider. Yeah, so After creating my geometry, I'll be creating my named selections, or I'll be giving my tags to the surfaces, to be more precise the faces. So you can go to the option over here, deselect edges and vertices. Now I can select my faces. There are 6 faces in total because it's a cuboid. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, the side 1 and side 2, so 6 faces in total. So this is my inlet. I'm sorry once again. This is my bottom wall. This is my side wall 1. This is my top wall. Or you can just write the top. This is my side wall 2. And we are left with the outlet. Okay, so we have 6 faces in total: inlet, outlet, side wall 1, side wall 2, top and bottom. Yeah, so our geometry is ready. So we are going to update this 3D CAD model, close the 3D CAD. Okay, so now if you want to look at your geometry, you just need to do some modification called add the parts to regions. You need to update your geometry part. So you make something called as a new geometry part. You get a window like this, and if you click on OK here, you can even change your sharp edge angle to 89 degrees or the coincidence tolerance. What does it mean over here is that our geometry is created from surfaces and curves. Even the meshing algorithm follows in the similar pattern or the way. So there are something called as the tessellation parameters, like it creates a specific size or a specific shape, and based on that it follows the same in the meshing, during which you call as a tessellation patterns in meshing. So when we create the interfaces, it has a specific amount of tolerance where the edges meet and all. So this you can read it in the Siemens StarCCM guide, you can get it. So yeah, so how to check whether our body is created and is exactly imported from the 3D CAD model to the StarCCM meshing section is that when you do the new geometry part, you get something called your scenes, and if you go to your scenes, you can see the geometry. Yeah, this is the geometry which you have created. Our geometry is like a single part. So when you proceed to meshing, it's very simple because it's just a single part. But when our geometry comprises of multiple parts, then during the time of meshing, we need to make the parts assigned to the regions. See, this rectangle is a singular part. What if I have another rectangle over here? That is another part. Now if I want to mesh both of them, and because there is a common interface between both where I am interested in finding a solution, how will I get that? So during the time you make your parts into region, make this whole rectangle with another rectangle at the interface as a common region for all of that, and at that interface, if you are interested, you can you can refine it more and you can get the solution. Now in StarCCM, if you look properly, there are like two meshing modes. Yeah, in operations there is one meshing mode over here. This is called parts based meshing, and in the continuum there is another meshing continuum which might be region based meshing. The region based meshing is something like an old school meshing, and the parts based is like a new school, because parts based meshing offers various advantages over region based meshing. Like in parts based meshing, if I have like one part over here and another part over here, I can just mesh this part and I can further proceed to get my solution. Also, that doesn't happen in region based meshing. You need to mesh the entire region and then you can proceed for get the solution, or like running your iteration, whatever it means. Also in my parts based meshing, I can mesh this part with one particular shape of core measure element and the other part with other elements, so that it defines, or like it reduces the load on the total like memory like which is being used up. So parts based meshing is like advanced school now. It's a new school like which offers like multiple advantages. So yeah, now we are following 2D based meshing. So when you look into the guide of Star CCM for 2D based meshing, you go into the first, you need to go into the operations, and you need to first batch for 2D meshing. So, or I'll show you over here. Like if you go into your parts, surfaces, everything is treated as a surface. And if you go to a curves, this is a default curve. The whole body is a default curve, and out of the curve the surfaces are extracted and you name them according to your geometry and the physics values. Okay, so I close this for the moment. Okay, I go to the operations. Now I go to the mesh, batch for 2D meshing. Why is it called batch for 2D meshing is that when you perform in 2D meshing on this block, on this body, sorry, you get something called as batch. Okay, so I execute this, and for performing the 2D meshing, one of the surface or one of the face must be on the lying on the axis of z equal to 0. That's a preliminary condition for 2D meshing, and you can find it in the Star CCM the Siemens guide. So let's go to the parts again. Body 1, surfaces, yeah. You see a red badge over here, the side wall 2, the wall beneath this, that is the one which is given as the 2D mesh surface. Because you can get a badge, you got a badge over here, the red badge. So that is the 2D surface or the 2D mesh thing. Okay, so now we have done the badge for 2D meshing. Next, this is the steps which are performed in the Star CCM guide. I am doing as it is. So next, I go to my parts. I assign my parts to my region. So as I mentioned earlier, parts are like different parts of a particular object, and region is that you club them into region so that it's easy for the meshing algorithm to mesh it based on the algorithm which it does. So I create one region for all parts. Yeah, for all the parts I have a single region, or you can create a region for each part also for that specific. And I create a boundary for each part surface, not for each part. So if you create a boundary for each part, this whole part gets only one boundary, and at that moment you cannot create the boundaries, or you cannot initialize the inlet and the outlet conditions, because it's whole treated as one boundary. Okay, so I create a boundary for each part surface. So at this surface, at the outlet, at the top, I create a boundary for each part surface. Now create one feature curve. Yeah, because as I told you earlier, our body is made up of, I mean the Star CCM body is made up of surfaces and curves, and we define one curve for the whole body. So I apply, and you can see here no interfaces were created. That means the assigned parts to regions is perfectly done. You can close it for the moment. So next I go to the continue again, new, sorry, I go to my operations again, new mesh. Now I do my automated mesh 2D, or you can also do this automated mesh, but since we are following the 2D mesh guide, I am going to the automated mesh 2D, and you can see over here I select my body one. There are something called as core volume measures and optional volume measures. In the core volume measures, you can see over here the polygonal, quadrilateral and the triangular. The triangular is the basic measure which we use, and we can use a triangular mesh. It's very simple and like it computes so quickly, but the triangular measures might have a lot of mistakes, or the skewness is very high in triangular measure. And the polygonal measure is something that is like fine, efficient, and we can rely on for the complex solutions. The prism layer measure is an optional volume measure, and it is used in the case of boundary layer or turbulence modeling, where I want to compute my boundary layers or like shocks, and in that cases I go to my prism layer measure. So yeah, in the automated mesh, my measures are the polygonal measure. Yeah, let's go to default control. My base size is the size of the element, which you can see over here at every surface. So let's define to be as, say, I'll be giving as 0.5 mm. And these are the other options which you can explore if you want. For the moment I am going with the surface growth rate. Surface growth rate is given as 1.3. For the moment I'll just compute the solution. You can see here the mesh, automated mesh is completed, and we can visualize it in the scenes, new scene, mesh. This is my solution for 0.5 mm. And as you can see here, the size of the blocks over here are different to that of the edge size of the cells at the edges. That's because of the surface growth rate which we are given. Now I give my surface growth rate as something called 1.01, because it tells us to choose a range between 1 to infinity. I close this. My base size also I want to go to something called as, say, 0.05 mm, because I didn't like the size of the mesh which we computed now. So I just execute this. I hope this takes some time because we have reduced the size of the base. This meshing over here occurs in 7 steps by creating interfaces, smoothing, patching and cutting off some of the surfaces, and interfaces where extra curves were like edited and like deleted or whatever. Yeah, you can see my mesh is so fine for the moment, very fine, and every cell appears to be in the same size even on the top and or at the bottom. Now in this small base size mesh, I'll show you how does the surface growth rate vary. If I give it as 1.3 and if I just execute it, yeah, I hope you can clearly get the image now. At the boundary surfaces, the base size is so small, which we are given as 0.05 mm, but as it progresses through the center, the size of the element increases, and from the center to the bottom base again the size decreases in the ratio of 1.3. Now I don't want this to happen because it's something called, it is similar to that as that of the boundary layer effect, because it's capturing a solution properly at the surface over here, but it's not capturing the solution at the domain over here. What if I want my solution to be captured exactly from the top to the bottom properly, uh, but it doesn't happen because of this surface growth rate? So I'll edit this into 1.01 for the moment, and I just automate it again. Yeah, so at this moment I want to let you know something about mesh independency or the grid independency test. Uh, See, I have given now the base size as 0.05 mm, right? If I give my, say at the end of this outlet, if I'm looking at my temperature for the moment, and if the temperature for this 0.05 mm base size which I have given has occurred to be like 100.15 degrees centigrade, but with my experimental data it is something called as like 100.1597, something like that. So I want to exactly match with my experimental data at the temperature at the outlet, and I further refine my mesh into 0.01 mm where I get 100.158 degrees centigrade, and into 0.0001 where I get my 100.1587, which exactly matches with that of the experimental data. This is just an example. So even after that point where you attain your solution at the base size which is given, and even after that, if you want to get even after that, you can refine your mesh and go further. But after that point, it doesn't change much the value in the solution, and you get the same solution, like say 100.158723 or whatever it might be, and you acquire the desired result for the value of the rounding off for the number of values or the number of digits until which you want your solution is perfectly accurate. Then that is something called as the grid independent, because like how much ever you change the size of the mesh, the solution is not gonna change. So that you can choose it as a proper size for that domain and that particular problem, and you can fix for the accuracy based on that. So I hope you got it. Yeah, now I meshed it. So let's go to the physics where we set the model. Okay, I select my model, steady. Now I'm going to do it on water. So liquid, coupled and segregated flow are something. When you look into the continuity and momentum equation, the coupled flow is written by modifying the momentum into the continuity and the continuity into the momentum, which I meant to say is like both equations are written one in the form of other by taking the Poisson equation and by linking the velocities to that of the pressure and a lot more. If you want to know more about the coupled flow, I suggest you to go and look at the algorithm which is known as the PISO. I think uh, pressure implicit algorithm. There you can find the linking between coupled like the continuity and the momentum, and that's given as the coupled flow, whereas the segregated flow, the continuity and the momentum equation are solved separately, and there are pros and cons for both coupled and segregated flow. If you want to know more, you can go into the YouTube and look into that. So for the moment I select coupled flow. I go with something called as constant density. I go with something called as laminar. For this video we are choosing laminar. Okay, close. Laminar flow is a very smooth flow, and you can observe the streamlines and streak lines in the laminar flow. It is not as messy as turbulent or transition, which contains puffs, slugs, vortices and 3D interactions. There is no, I mean, which we are more focused on viscosity over here than in the dissipation and the like energies from the dissipations and the fluctuations. So yeah, I have my model. Now I go to my regions. In my region, in my boundaries, I go to the bottom wall, which is over here. I choose it to be a symmetrical plane. So whatever happens on the top half happens even in the bottom half. So I go to the top. So symmetry plane on the top. I go to the inlet. I just give it as a velocity inlet. So my physics conditions, you can look over here, and you can if you want to explore, you can explore more, and I'll do it in the further videos. But for the moment, velocity magnitude, I give it as 10 meter per second. Fine. And the outlet, the physics conditions, I'm sorry, in the outlet I just give it as a pressure outlet, and in my pressure outlet, in my physics values, I just give it as 0.0 Pascal. It is a gauge pressure, and it is with reference to the atmosphere. Okay, we have forgot one important thing, that is specifying the density and viscosity of the fluid. That we can do it in the physics, in the models, in the liquid, H2O, the material properties, the density, I give it 1000. And the dynamic viscosity. Dynamic viscosity is something that is the kinematic viscosity multiplied by the density. That's formulatic. Uh, so I just write it as 0.001, because in that case for my 1000 kg per meter cube density, my kinematic viscosity turns to be 10 power minus 6. Okay, we have set the physics, we have defined the zones and the condition for the zones. I meant to say the inlet and the outlet and the specific physics for that. Now we set everything for the simulation. We'll just go to the stopping criteria. Say I'll just go with 1500 just for the moment. And yeah, let's start our simulation. As soon as we start our simulation, there is something called as residuals, which you can look at the screen. Since the iteration or the computation is numerical, uh, there goes with the basic assumption or the basic estimation for the initial solution, and from the initial solution the solutions are corrected by the iterative process, and from then on we obtain a solution till it reaches something to an unchangeable value, or like I mean to say that to a tolerance value. So for most of the cases which I used to do simulation, the tolerances over here are like something, if these values reach in the order of 10 power minus 5 or 10 power minus 6, I could just stop the simulation over there, and even sometimes the simulation stops by itself saying the solution has converged. So convergence of the solution has something to do with the stability part, and if you wanna know more, you can look at like how, what is mean by like convergence of a solution. Now if you wanna speak more about the volume measures or the, I have some basic information regarding the measures. So uh, yeah, so there is something called as the core volume measure and the optional volume measure, which I mentioned earlier. In the core volume measure, we have something called as the tetrahedral, the polyhedral, and the trimmed cell measure. The tetrahedral is a basic cell measure, and it is very quick, but it compromises in efficiency. It is used in something called as the solid mechanics or the thermal finite element modes and all that. And the polyhedral volume measure is a compromise between the speed and the efficiency. And during most of the simulation, the polyhedral volume measure is used. It basically works in such a way that it builds a tetrahedral measure, then combined with polymesh with lower number of cells, and this is the most common volume measure which is used. It's used in internal flows, like which you are using it now. And the trimmed cell measure is actually very efficient. It is used in external aerodynamics, and it's not always the ideal selection for the aligned measures. But if you want to go to the optional volume measure, we'll go to something called as a thin measure and the optional boundary layer measure. The optional boundary layer measure, as which we have seen, the prism layer measure, which I have given the description to you, saying how it works and what are the boundary layers in that. I mean, like where we use the prism layer and all that. And in the thin measure, the thin measure is useful like if you have a geometry section of very thin section, not zero thickness but of very thin. And this is most commonly used for the solid parts actually. Now there are something called also as the surface remeasure and yeah, surface wrapper and all that. And when you're exploring more in the star CCM, you can get that. So what the surface remeasure actually does is that like uh, it can refine the areas in the geometry due to imperfection in the CAD. So due to the imperfection in the models, like At some places there are interactions and there's some outlaying of the geometries coming to the interactions, and you can remesh that surfaces, and you can enable by using automatic surface repair, and but only when the small errors are there in the surface you can do it. It is not actually recommended in multi-volume models, and cannot repair manifold non-manifold edges. Non-manifold edges is something like if you have for a particular edge, if you have more than three blocks or like three edges connected, say you are in an edge of mm, an L section or some edge of one part, and at that edge you have so many other blocks connected at the bottom, top, left, right, and everywhere. So that is something called as the non-manifold edge, and at that point we have the problem with the meshing and all, so it doesn't correct that manifold edges. Yeah, since we have reached like almost 500 iterations, let's have a look at the monitors or the scenes. I open new scene, sorry, scalar. Okay, in the scalar scene, if I want to look at my, say, velocity, just the magnitude, it's comprising of I, j, and k. The magnitude is like root over I square plus j square plus k square. So yeah, you can see. Or if I want my vectorial scene, yeah, you can see like how the vectors are moving. Also, you can create a new scalar scene. Look at the pressure. There is absolute pressure, absolute total pressure, and also pressure coefficient over here. This pressure which I have been monitoring over here is like something relative pressure. Since it's an incompressible flow, or to put it in simple words, my velocity is less than Mach 0.3. The change in pressure, the gauge pressure is very less. So, but when you go to the compressible flows, the gauge pressure change is very high. Uh, so now we can just look at the pressure. The relative pressure is that of almost equal to the atmospheric pressure. We can stop the solution at this moment, since I am just satisfied with the order of 10 power minus 2 minus 3. As you can see here, the residuals are almost flat and there are no bouncing off. So yeah, if you want to look at more on convergence, convergence is linked something with the stability of the solution and also the error part. I mean, uh, if you want to look at the convergence of the solution, you try to define it one. I mean, like the error should be very small. The error is not that. Error is error in the sense of the truncation error when you write it in the numerical sense, and it should not oscillate so hard, so that even if it oscillates so hard, what I meant to say is like some solutions, even if they're oscillating, you can rely them because that oscillation is like not damping or not expanding. It's like constant oscillation with a constant period. But if you want to know more about the convergence study, you can go to the YouTube and look at like how does the convergence work and what is parameters linked to it. Apart from stability, there are certain parameters like what it actually functions and all that. You can look in that. So at this moment I'll just stop the simulation over here. Yeah, so these are the scalar scenes and the vector scenes of the pressure and the velocity. Since it's a basic video which I am doing over here, I am not focusing much on more options, or not I'm not stressing more on the continuity, momentum and their residual parts. This is just a basic outlet or the basic info of how to compute a what you call simulation in star CCM plus. So I hope you learned something from this. Even I am also a beginner and a learner. So if there are any mistakes, please guide me, or also if I can uh, learn anything important, or if I can learn from my methodology or my way of explaining, please let me know, so that it would be very useful for me also, so I can improve. And I hope you had a wonderful day. Thank you. See you again. Bye bye.